Folks, welcome to another edition in Real Estate Experts. As always, I'm your host Glenn Twiddle, bringing you leading experts from around the country and around the world to help you, the home seller, maximise top dollar for your property, build wealth through property, grow a portfolio. Basically, if it's real estate, I've got you covered. I'm bringing you the experts. And today I'm really excited to bring you an inspiration for me outside of real estate as well, training for the Paralympics right now in multiple sports. He's a gold medalist at a national level, and right now training for the Paralympics coming up, all while he's helping clients day in, day out in their real estate and their property needs. Boy, I tell you, he's a bit of a superstar, this guy. Bit of a superhero of mine, I tell you. Cameron Crombie, thanks for hanging out with me, bud.
Thanks for being here.
Wow, man, before we get on to, I'm here to pick your brain to help real estate consumers about that particular skill set. Before we get on to that, mate, tell me about training to literally compete in your sports, javelin and long jump. So it's multiple sports. Yeah. Having been a gold medalist in rowing in years gone by, and now training for literally the planet's highest accolade, mate, you got to give me the story, bud.
Yeah, I guess it's been tough. I mean, it's not an easy feat when you're training a couple of times a day and for a couple of hours per session. Yeah. And the time really gets away from you. But if you schedule things right and you're dedicated to it, then it changes everything. You know, if you've got a goal to get to, I guess, then it makes everything so much easier. And obviously real estate for me is a passion, and I like helping people as well. So I don't want to neglect that side of my life. Definitely. So I make a point to make time and set that aside that time for training. But my primary focus, I guess, in the other side of the world is real estate and helping people.
Wow, I love it, mate. I mean, you're so humble about it too, man, because what you're doing for us outsiders is inspirational. Tell us about the culture at the Australian Institute of Sport.
Look, it's very good. It's a pretty tight-knit community. I mean, a lot of the athletes, all they do is train, and a high percentage of them, and rightfully so. They're very good at what they do. But I made the decision to step aside from just doing that and fill the other whatever little time I have left to focus on a career, and this is the one I chose.
Wow, mate, it is inspirational, and really, the show's called Real Estate Experts, so I got to pick your brain about that. But mate, I'll tell you, on behalf of the viewers, congrats on your achievements so far, mate, and good luck, mate. I need you to come back with that gold, buddy. Yeah. I love it. All right, so mate, the real estate expertise. I mean, you've got a list a mile long of success stories of clients who love you, that you do manage your time magnificently, so you're outperforming in your skills and your results so many other agents. First thing I really want to ask is, not everyone lives in Canberra. Not everyone can have you, right? I know it's an easy decision if they live in Canberra and they can just choose you. How do we find the Cameron Crombie of Brisbane or Sydney or Melbourne? What are some of the attributes we should be on the lookout for if I'm looking for a superstar? Because you can imagine every agent in any of those cities, if you ask them how to get top dollar, they say, well, hire me because I'm the best negotiator. I'm the best marketer. How do we find someone that truly walks that talk as opposed to just talks it?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, as you said, walk the walk versus just talk the talk. There's a lot of different agents out there, and I guess there's a common misconception that we're all agents. We all look the same. We dress the same. We say the same things. We all say we're going to get the top price in the quickest time possible. When in actual fact, it's not quite the reality. Reality is that there are some differences, and there are things that I guess your sellers should look out for. We can cover a couple. I'll just keep it simple for now. But in southeast Queensland, there was about a secret shop of about 150 real estate agents, basically going through open homes and seeing how they do their business. What they found, I guess, that it wasn't too kind, unfortunately, to the real estate agents. They found that about a third of those agents, they weren't particularly too nice at all, and that's not a good start. Let's be honest. And secondly, about 2/3 of the agents didn't really follow up much at all. Is that really doing the job of an agent if you're not really following up any buyers? So that's two key things, I guess.
So we go to an open house, let's say. I would have thought just being a good person, nice, even if they're I saw the study as well, and I couldn't believe. I would have thought they'd have at least faked being nice, but it seems a third of them didn't even want to fake being nice, which is interesting. But the follow-up thing, let's delve into that a little bit more, because I agree that we should be leaving no stone unturned. The agents surely should be. When I saw that stat, 2/3 of them weren't following up at all. Tell me where the sweet spot would be. Of course, no follow-up is unacceptable. But then, you know, you don't want a new family member with a real estate agent that's calling you twice a day and like a stalker. Where's the sweet spot? If we visit an open house, how much follow-up is the right amount so that we know we're dealing with a Cameron Crombie?
Yeah, so I think the key there is almost just a mix of the first two. So it's the right mix of being nice and being personal, because if you're not a personable agent, how can you build a relationship with a buyer, let alone a seller? I mean, if you're a seller and you're spending 4, 5, 6, 8 weeks with this person as your agent, if they're not personable, you know, how's that experience going to be for you? So if you mix the two together and think, okay, a good real estate agent should be at least contacting the buyers, let's say 2 to 3 times at least before the Monday or the Tuesday after the open home. So it might include something like an SMS message straight after the open home, or while they're in the open home even, saying, look, just thanks for coming. Another, I guess, point of contact is the next one, which is the phone call. So is it a phone call, you know, the afternoon of, or is it a phone call first thing Monday morning saying, hey, look, I know you've had a couple of days to think about it. Thanks for coming through the open home. Just wondering if you had any interest in the property, if we can give you any more information. And the second thing. Third thing, that might even follow up with an email. And that email might contain, I mean, in New South Wales, it's a bit different to ACT in that ACT, all the pest and building reports, everything like that is all available prior to sale.
Okay.
So that's something that we as agents in the ACT have readily available and we can ship off to the buyers. You know, even if they're just, you know, umming and ahhing about whether the property's right for them, it's just another bit of information. So I think at least having 3 solid points of contact, you know, within the 2 to 3 days after the open home, I think that's a great start. And I think the third thing, I mean, the secret shop, I guess, brings out, and this is what I would encourage your sellers to do, which is go around and actually secret shop these agents, is their marketing. I mean, is their marketing congruent or in line with what is in fact, I mean, for most of your sellers, it's going to be, their house is going to be the most important, the most valuable asset, you know, in their lives at that time, in many cases. So what we'd suggest is, look, take a look at their marketing. Is their marketing congruent with that kind of property? Does it set it in a good light? Does it bring all the emotions out from the buyers? Because without a good solid marketing campaign, bringing out the best buyers and getting them emotionally attached and getting them in love with the property, then that just makes the negotiation process so much more harder. You know, so it's those 3 things are probably the 3 key things I'd start off with, and as we said, that should be able to weed out a good percentage of the agents straight off.
It seems 2/3 of them, based on that at least, are going to be disqualified from being any. And look, it's testament to you that, you know, I've seen your marketing materials and I love it. It looks great. It certainly is in line with someone's biggest asset. So yeah, definitely. I mean, I've seen your marketing material. It's second to none. It's certainly. I mean, some of the stuff I've seen literally is a photocopy brochure of their internet ad. So I get what you're saying. I love that. So it definitely gives us some good points and good advice to go and check out at the secret shops. Duplicate that study we did. Take any agents that you're considering, go check them out, see if they're walking the talk. Now, one thing from what I've seen from yourself, you've got almost like a concierge service. You've got great prices, great marketing, it gets lots of buyers, which results in negotiating to get high prices. Does that sort of thing cost more? I've had a bunch of my viewers ask me about, you know, it's like we've got some agents seem to be working for free, pretty much. They're so cheap it's free almost, and some that seem to be charging like an annual salary for their fee, and everywhere in between. Now, I know you're not the cheapest in your marketplace, and I know you're not the most expensive. So I guess really, what should we be paying for the premium service you're offering? Because all agents are charging all these different fees and they're all offering different services. What's your advice wrapped around the cost of transacting a property? Yeah,
so Glenn, I mean, good question. I mean, as I said, there's a lot of different agents out there charging a lot of fees, and as far as varying fees goes. I mean, and the good thing about that, I guess, for your sellers is that, you know, that part of the industry is actually deregulated at this stage. So that means that your sellers really should just be going out to get the best deal possible. Now, that doesn't mean, you know, cheapest fee, that means best deal. Now, if there's an agent out there that is charging, you know, 0.1, 0.2, 0.4, 0.5% more than another agent, then you need to ask them, or your sellers need to ask them to prove that, make them prove that what they're charging is actually in line with what they can actually deliver, and maybe they deliver over that. If the thing is, if an agent can't prove to you why they are worth an extra $4,000, then they're probably not doing much more than a guided tour of your house, which, as you would expect, you shouldn't be paying an agent for just a guided tour. And B, how good are they at selling themselves? If they know themselves pretty well, I mean, if they can't sell themselves and justify to you conclusively why they are worth the extra money, then what do you think they're going to do for your house or your seller's house when it comes to negotiating tens and thousands of dollars in every increment? I mean, it doesn't line up, and I think that's really what you should look out for. On the other hand, I mean, if someone can prove to you that, yes, we are worth $4,000, $5,000 extra, because we're going to earn you $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 on top of what would be a reasonable price at the end of the day, then stick with that agent. They've got to be able to prove it though.
I love what you say about if they can't negotiate, if one question from you is getting them to drop their fee by, say, $4,000, I mean, my question is, wait a minute, with one question you've just out-negotiated that agent, and does that mean you're about to hire this person as a negotiator for you? And you've just out-negotiated him yourself. It's crazy.
And why would you pay that person? If, as you said, if it's one question you make and straight away they're dropping their fee, I mean, how quickly are they going to be dropping the price of your house? I mean, so you want to be paying the person that's going to be doing the negotiating for you, not the other way around.
I think, out of those two people, we've just shown who the best negotiator is. I think that seller should be being paid the commission because they're the superior negotiator.
Those two it should be.
Yeah. No, so great advice, mate. No, look, I love that you've got a track record a mile long where you're proving to your sellers by demonstrated results. And mate, tell us your favourite story where someone was surprised by the amount of money you got them.
Oh, there's a few. So I guess one of them, probably one of the more recent ones, I was sitting in let's backtrack. So backtrack to the auction process, and we followed the process through. We had an offer and a highest bid of about $700,000 on a property that probably wasn't worth too much more than that. I mean, that was definitely 700 was at the higher end of our feedback throughout the process. And obviously, as we said, the process itself is what builds the results. So base it all on the process. But anyway, 700,000 was at the top end of our process as far as feedback. Held the auction. The person walked away when there was a vendor bid of 710,000. Walked out of the auction. First time it's ever happened. 5 minutes later, they're calling me back saying, "What's happening?" I said, "Well, we're selling to someone else. You walked out. Unless there's something, you've got extra for me, I guess." Basically, long story short, throughout the course of the day, that was at 12 o'clock on a Saturday. By 9:30 that Saturday night, I was in their family restaurant. They were feeding me, and they were signing a cheque for $740,000.
Wow.
And it took me all day to get there, but every time we must have had 7 or 8 phone calls, and every time it's an extra 5, extra 10, extra 15. Wow. They borrowed $40,000 off their family because their limit was 700. They knew they wanted the house. I knew they wanted the house. When you've got your house in the hands of a skillful negotiator, and as we go back to what we first covered on, a personable negotiator that can actually build a rapport and a bit of relationship with the buyer. I mean, that's worth tens of thousands. And in this instance, we're seeing that it's worth somewhere around $40,000. Wow. And I can guarantee my fee wasn't $40,000. I should have charged more. But yeah, we got it done on the day and signed contract on the auction day, which was fantastic. Sellers were over the moon.
Yeah, and what I love about that story is, because we see this rarely, it's unfortunate that we oftentimes see an agent who will get a deal together and kind of work on the weakness of either party, kind of whoever wants the sale most, they work on that deal, whoever that happens to be, and sometimes that's the seller. If the seller wants to sell more than the buyer wants to buy, often you see agents kind of working sellers down as much as they're working buyers up, sometimes more. What I love about yourself, mate, is even though you had a great rapport with that buyer, you were clearly working on behalf of your seller to get every penny that buyer could afford, and even a few pennies they couldn't afford, on behalf of your seller. That's why a great agent earns their fee, as you say. I love what I'm seeing, mate. It's a credit to you, bud.
Yeah, thanks.
So, mate, my next question is around this thing you mentioned in your book, and you spent a bit of time on it there because you're saying you've seen it so many times, and it happens so often, unfortunately, that it's costing sellers tens of thousands of dollars, in other agencies and in other areas than you work in. Tell us, and you've even given it a name. They call it buying the listing. Tell me what that is and why it's such a crucial mistake that's costing sellers money out there.
Yeah, well, Glenn, as you said, it's so common, and the fact that it's got a name is a pretty good indication that it happens a lot. I mean, and the most unfortunate thing is the seller's on the bad end of that.
Yeah, so what is buying the listing?
So what it is basically is that the agent will go in and try and get the listing, basically buy the listing at any price, which means they'll list it at whatever it takes. Even if it's above what the seller thinks is actually a reasonable price. They'll list it $50,000, $70,000, $100,000 above and say, look, we can get it for you. Don't worry about it. List with me and I'll get it. So over the next 4 to 5 weeks, what they are doing is then basically beating the seller down with market feedback until the seller gets down to a reasonable price, probably where they were originally.
It should have been at the start.
Probably where it would have been at the start.
Yeah.
And when they beat them down, they get to that price and they sell, and basically the agent walks away from their house treating it like a bit of an ATM. Just check in, check out, and away they go.
I mean, would it make sense though that if a seller kind of gives it a try at that high price, I can see why sellers would do it. They would say, well, if it's there, let's give it a try. Yeah. If it doesn't work, we can always come down.
That's right. I mean, it sounds like a pretty good tactic. I mean, start high, and see if the market warms to it, and if the market doesn't warm to it, then look, we go down, we go down, we go down. But I mean, the first 1 to 2 to 3 weeks even in a marketing campaign is absolutely crucial. I mean, if you're spending the first 2 or 3 weeks with the price too high, I mean, that's the time when the buyers are all abuzz about the property. That's when it's really hitting its stride. It's fresh on the market. There's buyers out there that have, they've lost, I guess, at an auction. They've been underbidders at comparable properties, and they're at the stage where they're finally this house is on the market that's perfect for them. And they're thinking, wow, that's awesome, fantastic. But they only think that if they actually get to see it. And if it's $50,000, $70,000, $100,000 overpriced, especially since at the moment you've got the internet is so prevalent. I guess everyone's got it on their iPhone or their Android, and they've got it at their disposal. They can just if they're not in the market, I guess if the property isn't in the market at the right price point, then it won't even turn up on the search. So they won't even come to the open homes. They won't get and
so they don't fall in love with it, and that's where you do your best work.
That's it. We can only do as much as our first job is actually is marketing, because we've got to get people to talk to. If we don't have people to talk to, we can't do anything. Yes. So I think that's the trap, and I guess that ends up being a lose-lose for the seller, really. Yeah. Now, what you want to do, I mean, if I can give your sellers a bit of advice, is to make sure that, look, be a bit cautious about the whole buying and listing thing. What you want to do is list a property at, if you're going to list it at a reasonable price, because you want to get all the commotion around all those buyers around that kind of price level. You want them competing with each other. You want them emotionally invested in the property so that then they can compete and we can negotiate with them. And under the hands of a skillful negotiator, you've got the opportunity to get more, even more above the what otherwise would have been a reasonable price. Yeah.
Tell me about the principle of competition, because you're no stranger to competition, mate. Tell me, when you're in training, and why is it that we get personal bests when they're at the Olympics or when you're in competition versus in training? Is it because you can see that other person? Yeah, tell us about that principle, because I'm sure there's a correlation there.
Oh, most definitely. I mean, even yourself, when you're doing, if you're on a rowing machine and you've got a time to beat, you'll do everything you can do to beat that time, because you don't want to come under it. You've been, I guess, from a training perspective, that you can achieve that. Why would you do any less? Yeah. And I think a lot of buyers, in the same respect, when it comes to competition, they want the property. Yeah. Why would I let Steve over there have it? This is the property that I've been looking for months, and it's finally here. Yeah. I need to have it. I will do what I can.
So it's like when you were gold medal rowing, getting your personal best, win the gold medals, where every time you're rowing and you're seeing that competition there, you're going harder. I love it. I have heard a saying once about swimming. Competition breaks records in the pool and competitions break records in real estate. So I'm loving that. Definitely. Yeah. What it seems like you're doing, I love that, is that you're getting the buyers competing with each other to drive the price up. Whereas when they do it that other way, if maybe they get one buyer, if there's only one buyer, they're driving the seller's price down. So, mate, I'm loving what I'm seeing, and that's truly why you got that list of raving fans a mile long.
Yeah, it's going the wrong way, isn't it? But look, to be honest, the other side of the coin is that, look, if you get someone that, and this comes back to the things we talked about before, you know, the marketing and whatnot, if you get someone that can prove that they are worth time and time again, you know, $50,000, $70,000, $100,000 more because of their negotiating, because of their marketing. If you can find that person and they can definitely prove to you that that is what they are able to do, then fantastic, this for them. But if they can't prove it, stay clear.
Yeah. So what sort of last advice would you give to our viewers about, I suppose, the future of real estate, where you see it going, and I suppose any final words, mate?
Yeah, look, it's interesting, the future of real estate, and it's an exciting time to be a part of it. What we're seeing is, I guess, in a lot of different areas, and some consumers are thinking, you know, it's getting to the stage where we've got our very similar agents, 2 to 3 agents, they're all the same, why don't I just sell it myself? You know, put it on the internet and just do a guided tour like every other agent, you know. What I would say to that is, look, in most cases, as we've gone through, you know, 2/3 of the cases, when people aren't following up, you're probably better off just doing it yourself. Yeah. But the thing is what I would suggest is, look, take 3 to 4 weeks off work.
Yep. They've got to be available full time, Yeah. It
is a full-time job, and I mean, what you want to do there is you've got to be available to take buyers through whenever they want. If it's a weekday, you can't just say, maybe if we come through on the weekend, you know. So take the time off. Go do a negotiating course. It will cost you tens of thousands. If you don't know how to negotiate, it will cost you tens of thousands. There's no other way about it. Go do a photography course. There's some things online I'm sure you could find. Go do a photo editing course. Have a look, make sure the photos you are presenting are good, because, as I said, back to marketing. You've got to have the best marketing. So, and another thing, I mean, you go out and do a bit of research on the market. You've got to know your market. You've got to know your marketing, and you've got to know about copywriting. You know, so be able to put a few words together in a concise manner that does get people's attention straight away and does draw them into the property. On that side of things, you know, if you don't want to take the time off work, you don't want to go do all these courses, then you need to find an agent that's going to take care of that for you. And I think if you can find an agent that is going to, you know, prove to you time and time again through not only the research, what they've done and put it out in front of you, but also their past results. If they can prove to you through client testimonials, you know, that kind of thing, if they can prove that they are worth every penny and more, you know, if they're going to earn you 10, 20, 30, 40, $50,000 on top of what would have been a reasonable price for your home, then the small amount they're going to charge is peanuts. And that definitely, run with that agent and enjoy the ride. Yeah, beautiful, mate. I tell you, it's been an honour hanging out with you. Just again, on behalf of the viewers, mate, good luck with the championship. Next, when you get back, mate, you've got to come on the show again. Show us the gold or the silver or the bronze, whatever it ends up being. All the best with the training. Congratulations on your successes, both in the sporting arena and in real estate. And, mate, your clients are lucky to have you, mate. So congratulations and thanks again. Thanks, Glenn. Good to be. No worries. Folks, that is another edition of Real Estate Experts in the Can. Look him up, Cameron Crombie. Check him out at the Olympics this coming few months. And I tell you what, I can't wait to see him come back with the gold. Gold, that's all we want. So that's another edition of Real Estate Experts in the Can. What an episode it was. So we do send our best wishes out to Cameron for his pursuit of the gold at the Paralympics. And again, if you need anything from Cameron, do look him up. If you're anywhere in the Canberra area, of course, you already know his name. And anywhere else in the country, though, do check him out and let's keep an eye on his journey, on his pursuit of both gold on the track and gold in his business as well. So until next time, folks, Real Estate Experts, Glenn Twiddle signing off. Bye for now.
If someone said to me, who would you go to? I'd say Cameron.
Because
high praise
you're comfortable with him and he explained the process fully and there were no surprises. We weren't surprised by anything. It was all explained to us what would happen. It happened when was supposed to happen, how it was supposed to happen, and the result was what we wanted and what we were led to expect could happen, and it couldn't be happier with the whole process, to use Cameron's words. And it was about process.
First and second impression were very good.
Nice young man.
Yeah.
I was happy to deal with him because I liked his approach. He wanted to know what I wanted rather than tell me what I wanted. I liked that approach. It suited me. I would recommend Cameron to anybody, and maybe he works for a good company that back him, and his approach to the way he does it. I presume agents are different. Some of them are pushier than others, some push their opinion more than others. I liked your approach. I liked Cameron's approach to the way he did things. And
It's comfortable.
comfortable, yep, that's the word.
Agent was Cameron, and actually I found him friendly, seemed to know what he was doing. Not the first agent I've come across, so that was, and I just found very approachable, which actually I think that's the big thing, because I felt at ease asking questions. That's probably, and I think that's the biggest thing. If you don't feel at ease with to ask what you need, and in the situation I was in where we were separated, it made it a lot easier because I didn't have any issues with contacting you or contacting Cameron. So that made a major difference for me. Part of the reason I'd probably be really highly recommending Cameron is that during the sale of the place, there was at no stage did I not think that Cameron didn't have our interests at heart. That was probably the key thing I found through the whole process. He listened to what we wanted. He knew what we needed. We sort of tried to meet what he needed, but I felt the whole time that he sort of was really concerned that he was doing the right thing by us. I never felt like he didn't have our interests. And, you know, I wasn't concerned about what we wanted, and I think that's probably a major factor. The second part was that the communication, constantly in communication. There'd be a text, phone call, and that made it simple. You know, I wasn't second guessing as to what was happening. I knew what was happening because he'd be saying, this is what's going on here, you know, or we need to meet, or we need to do whatever. And it just made it simple, very easy, and a nice simple process. And I think he's got a fantastic personality to help with that, with selling his selling property. So that's why I'd be recommending Cameron. I think that I was going to say, we often have this idea of real estate agents, you know, we don't trust them. We know where they, you know, and that was never the feeling that I had. And I mean, even from the point of view of being a seller, selling a place, you sometimes think, are they doing the right thing by you? But I never felt that that was the case. I always felt like he looked after us.
So my agent was Cam from Lytton Properties, and my first impression was that Cam came across as not really being the typical, you know, sleazy agent, I suppose you'd call it. You know, he presented himself quite well, was quite professional, and, you know, I sort of got a bit more about, I figured I'd get more of the professional side of real estate agents, not the you know, just the craziness of it. Yes, we've previously sold a place. I sold a house in Newcastle. It was a different market, but basically the agent that was engaged there was very, didn't communicate very well. I had a lot of bad feedback from them. I actually gave them quite a nasty letter at the end of it, basically to say, look, I wasn't very happy for the effort that they put in. This time around, I found that, you know, I was kept up to date with what was going on with the property the whole time. You know, my agent Cam was always a call away. And I'd constantly get emails and texts about what was happening at the open homes. I didn't get any of that from the Newcastle equivalent agents, so I wouldn't be using them again. The main problem I had this time around was that because of my bad experience previously, I didn't really trust my agent, and I should have. But yeah, I didn't. I felt that I had to constantly talk to my agent to make sure that he was doing his job. But that just wasn't required. I would definitely recommend Cam or Luton in general to anyone. In fact, after selling the property that I was engaged with Luton with, my neighbours have even asked about potentially selling their place at one stage, and I have definitely recommended Cam specifically from Luton. And a lot of that is to do with the professionalism that goes along with it. I don't want the typical sort of agent that just shows up and shows someone through a home. I want a little bit more than that, and I think at a certain point in the market you need to get that little bit more premium service, so I definitely recommend them. We're selling a house in Western Creek, and we're trying to work out what the best method of selling that property would be. After talking with Cam from Luton, we found that we were sort of convinced of using the auction method. Basically what happened is over time we're giving initial feedback during all the open houses through the process to say, roughly around the low 600s to sort of mid 600s potentially, and that sort of just went on and on over a couple of weeks. On the actual auction day we had a great result. We had 40-50 people here, we had 5 registered bidders, 3 people bid, and we got 47,000 over our reserve, which was a great result. It was higher than the range we were initially quoted, and beyond our expectations. So what does that mean to us? I suppose we're currently relocating to Brisbane. We're looking to buy another house, looking to buy sort of that house that we'll have our kids in, and it just means that we'll spend that little bit more money, maybe pay our stamp duty or whatever it is on that next place. So yeah, it's great. So the reason I like Cam as an agent is when I was going through, I did go through a couple of agents to look at what I liked about the market. And the thing that struck me about Cam is the questions that he asked me first about how to sell the property wasn't necessarily about the house itself. It was more about my situation, whether how quickly I needed to move, whether I needed the money straight away, whether there was some compelling event that made sense. And he sort of made more sense of the situation rather than just the house himself. We did go back and look at the actual house, and Cam gave me some pointers around, look, we think we should do this, or present this a different way, or maybe clean this or do that. But it was a bit more holistic than other agents that would show up, not ask me one question about why I was selling, and literally just point to, oh, you probably should paint that, or maybe clean those cobwebs, but otherwise we should be good. So that's probably the main thing that I liked.
Yeah, our agent was Luton's. Cameron came through. We actually got his details from a letterbox drop, which was really good. First impressions were really good. Wanted to be our agent is what I understood. Was very keen on and believed that we could get a good price for our house. So yeah, no, it was very, very good. Selling with Cameron was our first home, so didn't know what the process was, and Cameron made it easy for us. He made it simplified so we could understand what the process was, and laid out all the options. So there was more than one option on how we could sell our house. So we had the auction, or we could have sold it just with a for sale sign, or we could have done something else. There was too many different options that we could have done. So choosing the auction, I think, was the best way to go. So yeah, that was very good. The perception I had was, I didn't know how the house was going to get sold. That was, I didn't quite understand. Sort of, I knew that you'd go for auction and things like that. I've seen enough auctions, and I've been doing it before we bought the house. We went to auctions and things like that. But it was just very daunting for us when we were trying to sell it. So it was, I don't know. It was simple. Cameron made it easy. So and he answered every question we had and made it very smooth, and it was quite easy at the end of it, was selling it. I mean, obviously, impressions of what was going to happen on the sale was when there was only 2 people registered and things like that. very quite nervous, thinking that, oh no, this isn't going to sell, and oh, it's not going to sell for much, and we're not going to hit our reserve, and things like that. And then it just dragged on and on and on and on. But it got there at the end. So you'd think you'd want an agent that is going to work for you. So and Cameron did that. So he followed up with everything, and I didn't understand the level that actually Cameron went to. So it was getting updates weekly of all the people that have been and what their expectations are and what they, what Cameron believed the outcome to be. So, that was just well and above, beyond what I thought would happen. He was approachable, and I don't know what the other agents were. We actually had another agent go through the house before Cameron, and I'm still waiting on the valuation. So, it's just never showed up. He just wasn't interested, and I don't know why. That just it seemed like we were wasting time. So, but no, I mean, definitely tell people to do the research. But I mean, if you can get someone like Cameron, who was very approachable and came through, when you asked questions, had answers, and got back to you in time that when you needed things done, then definitely go with him. I think all the open homes and the dedication that was put into it, I think, into the sale. There, it was. Even we were saying, let's not do the midweek one. No, we need to do the midweek one because of this reason. Even though you may not get anyone, you'll still get someone, and things like that. So I think just the persuasiveness as well, I think, of Cameron and what he did to help us, sell the house. So I don't know, just that, and I think the market was right to sell at the end, and I think obviously with the letter drops, you obviously knew that the market was getting that way and things like that, and we were just at the stage where we were just done with the house and we want something bigger and something already done and things like that. So that was the time to sell, and I think it was right place at the right time, and it worked out really well.